Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone from all around the world. You know, when we read the Qur'an, there's a phrase that can really stop you in your tracks, that God guides whom He wills and misguides whom He wills. And that, for so many of us, brings up a huge question. If our path is already decided by a divine will, then how can we possibly be held responsible for our choices? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep and unravel that very dilemma. And this isn't just some abstract theological puzzle, right? It's a question that really gets to the core of our relationship with God, our understanding of justice, and this tension between destiny and free will. It's a question believers have wrestled with for centuries. So let's get right to the heart of it. So here it is. This is the verse that gets everyone thinking, and it appears in different ways throughout the Qur'an. He misguides whom He wills, and He guides whom He wills. يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Now, if you read that all by itself, it can be pretty unsettling. It almost sounds like our fate is completely sealed, totally out of our hand, which of course leads us to the big question we all ask. If guidance and misguidance are ultimately up to God, then how can we be judged for what we do? It's a really critical question. But thankfully, the answer isn't some big mystery. It's actually a system. The very first step to understanding this is to get rid of a major misconception. See, most of the confusion starts when we imagine God's will is something like our own. Arbitrary, unpredictable, maybe even based on a mood or a whim. We have this tendency to project our own human limits onto God. But the Quran is really clear that the divine will is the exact opposite of a random whim. It actually operates inside a system, one that is deeply just and based on consistent, reliable laws. The key thing to always remember is the foundation. God is not like anything in His creation. Okay, so if it's not a whim, then what is it? Well, the concept that really unlocks this whole thing is called Sunnah Allah, and this refers to the established, unchanging ways, the laws by which God governs the entire universe, including our own journey. Sunnah Allah basically means that God's actions aren't chaotic. They follow a predictable and just system that He Himself has told us about. Think of it, it's kind of like the laws of physics, but for the spiritual world. There are very clear causes and effects. So here's the crucial insight. When the Quran says whom He wills, it's not the end of the thought. It's more like a legal clause. It's pointing you to other verses where the full definition is laid out. The Quran doesn't just leave us guessing. It tells us, very specifically, who falls into the group He wills to guide and who falls into the group He wills to leave astray. So let's look at the fine print of this clause. The Quran lays out a really clear cause and effect for who gets left to go astray, and it's never random. Divine misguidance is always shown as a consequence, a result of choices that a person makes first. The Quran gets very specific. It says God leaves astray those who choose to be unjust, who choose corruption, who choose arrogance. You see the pattern here? It's all about their active role. These aren't just passive victims. They are people who take the first step toward darkness, who deny a faith they once had, or who treat religion like it's some kind of game. God's action is a response, not the first move. And this verse just makes that link crystal clear. And He does not misguide by it except the defiantly disobedient. وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. The condition for being left in that state of misguidance is a person's own defiant disobedience. The choice came first. Okay, so what about the other side of the coin, the path of guidance? Well, the exact same principle of cause and effect applies. Divine guidance isn't just handed out randomly. It is a direct response to a person's sincere efforts and good intentions. So, who does God will to guide? He guides those who strive in His cause, jahadu fina. Those who repent and turn back to Him, man anab. Those who actually act on the good advice they hear, those who choose to believe and do good, and who hold on tight to God, waman ya'tasim billah. Again and again, it's the person who opens the door and then God's guidance just flows right through. And this is just so powerfully confirmed in this amazing verse. And those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. I mean, the promise couldn't be clearer. You put in the sincere effort, and it will be met with certain guidance from Him. So when you put all of this together, It leads to one single powerful conclusion. Your first step is everything. In this divine system, your choice, that initial choice, that's the currency. That's what you spend to enter one path or the other. The Qur'an even gives us this perfect historical example with the people of Thamud. God says, and as for Thamud, we guided them, but they preferred blindness over guidance. وَأَمَّا ثَمُودُ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ فَاسْتَحَبُّوا الْعَمَى عَلَى الْهُدَى. Did you catch that? There are two kinds of guidance here. God's initial guidance was to show them the way, to make the truth obvious, but their choice was to actively prefer to be blind. There's a beautiful sacred narration, a hadith Qudsi, that just captures this dynamic so perfectly. God says, "Whoever comes to me walking, I will go to him running. Men atani yamshi ataytuhu harwala." Just think about that. It shows that God's response is so much greater than our small initial effort. We take one small step, and he meets us with this immense, welcoming rush of mercy. And you know what? The Qur'an actually anticipates the very excuse we started this whole conversation with. It describes a person on the Day of Judgment crying out, "If only Allah had guided me, I would have been among the righteous." أن تقول لو أن الله هداني لكنت من المتقين. It's the ultimate attempt to pass the buck, to shift the blame. But the divine response is immediate, and it is final. But yes, my signs had come to you, but you denied them and were arrogant. بلى قد جاءتك آياتي فكذبت بها واستكبرت. And right there, accountability is placed squarely back on the human being. The signs were there. The path was made clear. The choice to deny it, that was theirs and theirs alone. So in the end, the mystery isn't really about a predetermined fate that we can't control. It's about a just, predictable, and responsive system. God's will is to guide anyone who truly wants guidance, and to let go of anyone who actively chooses to turn away. He has shown the way. That first step, the currency of your choice, is in your hands. So the only question that matters now is, which one will you take?